all those who will be allowed here will also get a screen for we'll have their temperature screen, sanitization will be going here as well. So the seating capacity here as it stands now is that they will be allowing roughly 10,000 people who will fit in this venue. But there are other monuments outside this area that we are in. And of course, that is closely guarded by the members of the Kenya Army. So members of the public are not allowed to go anywhere near where the constructions is still ongoing. But this is the venue where the members of the public and other dignitaries have been restricted for this function. Fred.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Of course, that's something we've learned, that access is not 100% within the Uhuru Gardens. There are some sections which are still locked out from members of the public, and that will be unveiled in the coming months. So for now, those attending the event, about 10,000 or 11,000 of those will only be able to sit at a restricted area next to the VIP dais, and most of the monuments and other architectural changes to the Uhuru Gardens will be unveiled later by indications by the PS of Interior. He says that maybe by March or May next year is when all the architectural designs and monuments that form the newly refurbished Uhuru Gardens will be unveiled. So much more we wait to see. But even as we were looking at those pictures back here in studio, having a discussion with Dismas, and we were talking about the fact that not many Kenyans perhaps even understand the meaning of Jamhuri Day. You could hear even confusing between Jamhuri Day and Mashujaa Day and Madaraka Day. And the fact that this is the equivalent of Independence Day for us. And not many Kenyans actually have that understanding. Don't you think that there's a disconnect in as far as, because everyone is talking about President Uhuru Kenyatta's final Jamhuri Day, but exactly what is the meaning of this day?
Well, and you know, that's the tragedy, and that's why we need to treat with contempt or with a bit of suspicion any politician who is telling us that they do not care about our history. Because if we do not know our history, then we will not know where we are and where we want to go. Because when you attained independence, as we indicated earlier on, 3 things we wanted to fight: poverty, disease, and ignorance. 60 years later, how much ground have we covered? How much have we achieved? Now, in 1963, when we attained independence, we were declared a sovereign state with a prime minister. But the head of state was Queen Elizabeth II. So it's only a year later when Kenya became a republic, and the head of state was a Kenyan. That's when Jomo Kenyatta, whose son is the president of the Republic of Kenya today, became the head of state. So for 1 year, our head of state was Queen Elizabeth, and running us from London. Of course, it's largely ceremonial, but still she was head of state. Now it's a tragedy, as we indicated again earlier on, the majority of these tuk generation, they don't know the difference. Now, if they do not know the difference, how can they make strategic choices for next year? How can they take choices, informed choices? So in my view, and not long ago, again, a number of politicians were saying that, wait a minute, why do you need to study history? Why do you need to study civics? Why do you even need to study government? I think we should encourage Kenyans to exercise their intellectual curiosity and learn all these things, so that when they're taking a decision, they make an informed decision. Because majority of the leaders we have today, a number of them were already playing key roles around 1963. So they gave us, they made those 3 promises. So it would be important for us to ask ourselves, how much ground have we achieved? And then compare ourselves with our peers. Because we are told by history that we've read and consumed into detail that South Korea and Singapore, 1963, they were our peers. That our economic indicators, our social indicators were almost the same. But 60 short years, South Korea now is a global power, that they can cut deals with America, and sometimes they can even give foreign aid to America. But in Kenya, what have we achieved? And then when you ask ourselves that question, then we'll start asking ourselves, what kind of leadership do we have in Kenya? Okay. And how do we select our leaders, or even how do we elect our leaders? Do our leaders even know, as a nation, Kenya, where we are today and where we are supposed to be going? And in my view, a nation is as good as the leadership they have. Because you see, essentially, what does the head of state do, or the head of government, or the president? You are supposed to paint a picture of Kenya and say, this is where we are today, and in the next 10 years, 20 years, this is where I want Kenya to go.
Yes.
Then you harmonize resources through the national treasury, you allocate resources to those various sectors, and then you make sure every Kenyan follows. Now, when President Mwai Kibaki took office, he had a team which came up with the Vision 2030. We need to ask ourselves, are we actually implementing Vision 2030?
Okay.
Because it's going to be 8 years before we get into Vision 2030. What have we achieved?
I'm made to understand now that we finally have that connection with the Hesbon Owila, media and communications expert. Hesbon, karibu sana, and we do apologize for that technical hitch, the reason why we've not been able to include you in the discussions here in studio. Now I'm made to understand you're able to hear us.